Bang, 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 bang! Bang! How we doing, Mets fans? Bang! What a day! What a series doubleheader sweep! The Braves! How you doing? Sayonara! Good night! Get out of here! Jacob deGrom's still on the bump tomorrow. Let's spam those W's in the chat. I want to see double W's in the live show right now. Let's effing go! I'm supposed to be scared? No! The division runs through the Mets all year long. It's not changing now. The Mets made another statement tonight against the team in Atlanta without a effing problem. Even when they had some bullpen issues in game one. Not an issue. The Mets get the job done, folks. They take game 1 8-6 with David Pearson on the bump looking like an absolute stud. They take game 2 like no problem. 6-2 your final with Max Scherzer being the best acquisition among any Met that landed with the Mets in the offseason in their entire franchise's history. Max is a sub-2 ERA on the year, 11 Ks, shutty over 7, strikes out the side in his final inning. Let's effing go. Get those W's in the chat right effing now, boys. We got a lot to say about this one. And guys, oh my goodness gracious. Whoa! Wow. And guys, I know you're right. I think game 1 was actually 8-5, my mistake. I always have a spelling error for every single show I do. Today's spelling error was the number error, I should say, was that game 1 was in fact 8-5, not 8-6. My apologies. Maybe I was feeling generous for the Braves, trying to give them some benefit of the doubt. But no, other than that error, guys, let's get those W's in the chat. We got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to start with game 2, then we're going to go back to game 1. Wow. Uneffing believable what the Mets were able to do today. My goodness gracious. Hype in the chat, guys. Thank you all so much for chiming in for the latest Mets post-game show. McBlam, thank you so much for the dono, as always. Hype in the chat at McBlam. McBlam, what does he say? And guys, I know first game was 8-5. I'm not changing it. It's going to make everything lag in the show. I'm not going to do it. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing Monster right now. Got to get pumped up for the game. That's what we're doing. When the Mets win, when they sweep the doubleheader, we're going to feel electric. Wow, McBlam with the $10 dono. He says the highlight video the Mets lost had a Braves fan talking smack, saying this is a prelude to an ass whooping to come. Well, he was right, wasn't he? Braves took an ass whooping. Yes, they did. Those schmucks think they had something going. Literally, the Mets made a game of it yesterday after time. And guys, that's why I think I put 8-6 for today for game 1, because I'm pretty sure the Mets lost 8-6 yesterday, or 9-6 rather. The number 6 has been in my head because the Mets have scored a minimum of 6 runs every single game that we've seen so far in this 4-game set. McBlam, thank you for the dono. I appreciate you. Let's get more dubs. Let's get some hype in the chat, guys. Before I break down these games, I'm feeling electric. I'm going to pass out by the end of the show, but I don't care when the Mets win like this, when they sweep a doubleheader. You got to go crazy. That's what we're doing. Shout out to my members here in the live show, guys. Shout out all my new viewers. Appreciate you guys so much. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe on, as always, folks. If you guys are just chiming in to the absolute cracked out man that is me right now, I'm Wardy. I might be breaking down this doubleheader sweep for you guys, and I think we're all in unison. I think we got to start with game 2 because it literally just ended. I look like a tomato. This is not sunburn. This is just me screaming my absolute head off right now. So we'll get into game 2. We'll talk about it. We'll react more to it. Then we'll cap things off with game 1. Then from there, I'll answer more donations, comments, questions, concerns, whatever you got for me, all that fun stuff. 5.5 up. The Mets are 30 games above 500. Buck Showalter's in the top 20 now all time. And managers, when it comes to the win column, Mets now, I believe, are 34-16 against teams in the NL East. They're wiping the floor with teams. The Mets, guys, listen to this rotation number real quick before we get into breaking down this game. According to Michael Mayer for Mets Mirage, love you, Michael. It comes out with phenomenal numbers here. Guys, I know the number is wrong for game 1 here on the graphic. Once more, I would like to emphasize that. I apologize. Mets starting pitchers have a ridiculous 2.28 ERA since Max Scherzer returned off the IL on July 5th, just a month ago. Jaw-dropping, Mad Max every single day, the 37, the 38-year-old now, an absolute stud. He looks like just as good as what he was a decade ago at 28. Mad Max is simply unhittable. He's disgusting. He made Acuna look like his son. He made Ozuna look like his son. He made that entire Braves lineup look absolutely pathetic. And this is what I love, folks. The Mets, they jump on this Braves team. Are they a really strong team? Yes, they are. There's no denying that. Look, the Braves are going to continue to win games. They're going to continue to nip out the heels for the Mets for the division. However, this Braves team does not sway me. This Braves team does not move me. They are so swing and miss. And for all the Braves fan schmucks out there, not all of them, because I know we have some lovely Braves fans that chime in the show, that enjoy the content, which I will say I really appreciate coming from me being as much of a Mets fan as I am. But I love the Braves fans that come out and say, oh, the Mets are just getting lucky with all this soft contact. Look at the exit velos, nothing. Look at the infield hits. The Mets lead the league with roughly 140 infield hits, you schmucks. Don't you realize that at some point, it's more than just luck, and it's skill by always putting the ball in play. When you put the ball in play, no matter if it's soft or hard exit velo, naturally you have a good chance to make something happen, to get on base. Darren Ruff was a perfect example of that today, especially in Game 2. Facing off against Max Fried. When you put the ball in play, good things happen. That's baseball. I don't know why it takes a rocket scientist to figure this out. I'm also waiting for the people to say, when are the Mets going to fall off? Because apparently the Mets were supposed to fall off in May. Apparently the Mets were supposed to fall off in June because of the June swoon. They went above 500 that month, by the way, when they had a really rough schedule and dealt with injuries. The Mets were surely going to fall off in July. So they're going to fall off now in August, if not September, right? And September's their easiest schedule this month for the entire season. So, yeah, all I know is that there's a lot of fans out there that somehow, some way are still not swayed by this Mets team. And I don't know what else to tell every single one of you. Have you just been watching out of how many? The Mets are 30 games above 500. And speaking of luck today, the Mets had the further luck. The Braves had a 167 expected batting average in Game 2 today. The Mets had a 261. Get out of here with that nonsense. The Mets have time and time again been the better team. They win the series, a 5-game series, and they have a chance to win 4 or 5 tomorrow with Jacob effing deGrom on the mound. That has to feel electric. I know it feels electric for me. Wow, let's go, baby. Let's get them hypes in the chat right now. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on. Edwin, thank you for the $5 donut, my brother. I appreciate you. I'm going to see another donation quick, and then we will go further from there, guys. Greatly appreciate Julian with the $2 donut. Says, Big Meat Pete with the slide of the year. Absolutely. It was a phenomenal effort by Darno, but it was an even better slide in the end there by Pete Alonso to get that in. You'll love to see it. Let's get to that, guys. Let's break down now Game 2. Then we'll wrap things up by talking about Game 1, and then we'll get to all your comments, questions, and concerns. How you doing? We're feeling phenomenal here on this amazing, truly jaw-dropping Saturday night here for us Mets fans. Dave with the $5 donut says, great day for our Mets. Let's get DeGrom the dub tomorrow. Guys, I got to say, I really, really hope that the Mets can muster at minimum, 4 or 5 runs for Jake tomorrow, guys. Because here's the thing. The Mets scored 6 runs at minimum the first 4 games of this series, guys. And of course, Jake is the final game of the series after they secure the series dub. And of course, they're facing Spencer Strider, who even though they did well against in Atlanta like a month ago, I really need them to get runs for Jake tomorrow more than I need life itself. So let's get into this Mets game. Let's talk about this massive Mets dub, and then we'll go from there. Love you guys so much. Continue smashing those buttons. Hype in the chat, baby. We're trying to get 100 likes for the first short-term goal. I think we're there already. Help us get a 400 likes by the end of the live show, guys. My roughly 800 viewers. You guys are the best. So let's talk about this Mets game. Let's talk about Game 1. Can I get, okay, Mr. Down, I'll give him Mr. Downtown, then we'll go forward. Can I get a yes? Can I get a oh yeah? Let's get an oh yeah in the chat, brother. Even though that I'm probably saying different guys, right? Because oh yeah is different than brother. There's all these different wrestlers. I know. I used to watch WWF, WWE growing up. It's been a minute now. If you don't know, Logan Paul's into WWE now. Things have changed quite a bit since the last time I watched it. But let's get some oh yeahs in the chat, because if you guys don't know, the biggest thing, inside joke on the channel that I've gone from donos in the past is, give me an oh yeah if you hate the Braves. So I go oh yeah, and you guys go oh yeah back in the live show. Let's get it going. Thank you guys so much. So the Mets in Game 2, before we get to Game 1, how the offense started today. In Game 2, they're coming off of that strong 8-5 win. I understand that. And what happens with the Mets, folks? When the Mets score within the first, second, or third inning, you know they're not just going to score often, but the likelihood of them winning the ball game is really, really strong. In the first, they got awfully close. Francisco Lindor gets on base. He reaches on an error. Pete Alonso with a base knock. How you doing? Pete was one of my best players tonight, in my opinion, for the Mets. I think you guys can agree. Darren Ruff, unfortunately, struck out to end the inning there in the first. Ruff, I liked what I saw. Ruff had his biggest day yesterday. Pinch chain for the Mets. They lost, unfortunately. Ty didn't have it. We'll discuss some more on the Bleav in Queen podcast. That'll come out early Monday. Myself, Anthony Recker, yes, the former New York Met, now MLB Network analyst, and Joe Serralo. As long as we're all able to record, we're going to get that done come out Monday. So we'll talk about Ty and if we should be worried about what we saw there in Game 2 of this series. The Mets always lose Game 2, unfortunately. Darren Ruff, however, did have that clutch 2 RBI yesterday. Did have some nice at-bats today as well. But expand further, guys, on what we saw from the Mets. They did not score there in the first. However, Darren Ruff would be in the mix of the Mets scoring early in this one as we get to the third inning. Mad Max is already making batters look stupid. He does a 1-2-3 in the first. Makes Ronald Acuna Jr. just looks absolutely silly. Acuna looks silly, gets an Ottavino slider to strike out to end it in the first game. And the second game, you saw exactly what you got with Max versus Acuna again. Braves, big bop, but they remind me so much of the Phillies. They're so swing and miss. It's honestly hilarious. Couldn't be me, thankfully. All right, we get Alonso with a nice RBI single to start the scoring here in the third inning of Game 2, folks. Darren Ruff would get himself a nice RBI because he reaches on a fielding error by Dansby Swanson, and then another run would score because of that throwing error. Max Fried, as he threw it home, fell right on his shoulder, was in agony, was in pain. He did stay in the game, which I give him absolute kudos for. He was a Bulldog today and definitely kept, the Braves in a realistic chance where they could have came back. However, when you're facing the better Max of the two in the Battle of the Maxes Part 2 today, the odds of you coming back, that being the Braves, are not likely, and that would continue, folks. As we advance forward in this game, in the sixth, after the Mets already have a couple runs scored, they are already up by multiple runs. As a matter of fact, they'd be up by 3 there in the third. You would then see Pete Alonso with an infield single in the sixth. Darren Ruff would reach on an error for the second time today. Then you would advance forward. Mccann would reach with an RBI, not a single, but reaches on an error. It was a fielder's choice. It looked like it was a great play by Riley to get d'Arnaud right away. d'Arnaud with a spinning back tag. It looked like he had him out, but what does Buck do best? Better than any other manager in the league? It's not even remotely close. Look at the numbers. It's a fact. You saw d'Arnaud look for a phenomenal tag, like with a backhand, basically. However, Alonso slides in hard. They end up reversing the call. Alonso gets in. Mccann, who had an over, I think he was over 6 entering that at bat. Even though he didn't necessarily get the single, he did get the RBI to increase the Mets' lead at that point 4-0. So we advance forward, guys. Max Scherzer, who's already making the Braves look absolutely stupid the entirety of the game. And his final inning, folks, he goes out and tops out 108 pitches, the most pitches he's thrown this entire season, now at a young age of the fresh 38. He strikes out the effing side, makes Marcell Ozuna one of the biggest schmucks. I got a lot to say about Marcell, but I'll keep it out of here right now. Marcell strikes out, and that'll do. Max is pumped up. I'm pumped up. I'm jumping out of my seat like the absolute schmuck that I am. And the Mets find themselves already 6 outs away from winning this ball game. However, you know what? The Mets looked at 4 runs in Game 2, and they said, we could do better. We can do more than that. And that's exactly what they did, thanks to some phenomenal offense that will continue from the best acquisitions ever. Truly, the Mets made Braves 2021 trade deadline offensive-esque acquisitions. I emphasize this in my podcast. I said that I'm so happy that I've been right about this because it just made perfect sense knowing this is a 5-game set. I told all you guys that watch Bleav in Queens episode 11 here on the channel, wherever you get your podcast, that Darren Ruff, Daniel Vogelbach, and Tyler Naquin would be X factors for the Mets in this series, knowing how crucial it is to have that depth, and not even a 4, but a 5-game set. You need everyone playing, and you need them based on matchups, and they have all showed out. Tyler Naquin with 2 bombs. How you doing? We saw Vogie with a bomb. We saw Vogie with an RBI in Game 1 before we get there. But we would see Tyler Naquin step up even further. Brandon Nimmo with a hit by pitch, gets on base. Doesn't last on Marte. Right after that, gets on the fielder's choice. They can't do the double play because Marte's the fastest man alive going down first. So you got Marte on. He's still second base, just gets his glove under the infielder there on second. That's phenomenal, guys. But then we advance a little bit forward in the inning, and just like that, you see Lindor. Lindor would get himself a walk. The Mets will not score, however, in that one, because as then we get to the eighth, everybody, Andrianza with a double. Acuna with an RBI double. This is after Max leaves the game. Michael Givens, again, another outing where he gave up a run. He's given up at least one run. He's given up 6 array and 3 outings so far as a New York Met. Don't love it. His pitches are looking a little flat right now. Doesn't look comfortable yet. Got out of the jam yesterday without a problem, but still, or over the past 24 hours regardless, I would like to see Givens hopefully not give up a run more consecutively, but for now, it wasn't much of a detriment for the Mets, because as we get to the bottom of the 8th, Eduardo Escobar, who is over 3 on the night, he rips himself a beautiful double off the right-hander, that being Jackson Stevens, whoever the hell that guy is, right? He rips a double in the gap, has a guy in scoring position with no outs in the bottom of the 8th, folks. And then here comes Tyler Naquin. And what does Tyler Naquin do? He goes oppo, a nice RBI base knock, brings in the runner. Naquin would then steal his 4th bag of the year. Oh, what? Naquin doesn't have speed? Oh, yes, he does. Steals second beautifully. And then the Mets, they continue. They get the runner to third. And what does Tomas Nido do? He's done something better than every other player in the NL. His 10th sacrifice of the year, which leads the entire National League. The Mets, I believe, their first suicide squeeze of an RBI. Nido pokes that one. Nice little suicide squeeze bunt opposite field. Naquin gets in with ease. The Mets get their 6th run of the day. Nido's out, not a problem. Tomas Nido had a really, really good day overall. Love what I saw from him at times in this series. Then you get Trevor May, guys, in the 9th. He would give up a bomb to Wilson Contreras' brother. What's his name? William Contreras. So Wilson, William, Potato. It doesn't matter. You hear Mets fans. They're doing the tomahawk chop to the Braves. They're doing their chant to the Braves, making fun of those schmucks, and it would hold true. The Mets would shut the door. May would get the final out, and the Mets would win Game 2 and sweep the doubleheader without any problems whatsoever, baby. So, guys, as you guys can see right now, you see it in Wardy's Top 5. I have the numbers combined from both Games 1 and 2 today. So we just recapped Game 2. Let's talk about Game 1 a little bit. Then we will get into all your comments, questions, and concerns, donations. But my goodness gracious, Mad Max F and Scherzer, have some mercy. The Braves looked like a AAA club out here. Quite literally pathetic is what the Braves looked like every single time they matched up against Max. All Max did against the Braves so far this year, if I'm not mistaken, he gave up that one bomb that we saw there in his final inning in Atlanta, and then the Mets got it right back because Luis Gourmet got it bombed the following inning in Atlanta, so it wasn't even an issue. Max has been unhittable. This guy, it sucks that he was out with injury, because quite literally, if he had a full season, I don't think there's any denying that he is a top Cy Young candidate. 1.98 ERA on the year. Yes, you don't know how his outings would have went for the month and a half that he missed. I'm fully aware of that. But still, Mad Max, he's been so unbelievably effective. This guy's a strikeout machine. And at the age of 38, to have that consistent velo 95 plus, have that nasty wipeout slider, he's just making batters look absolutely stupid on every multiple day basis that he is on the bump. Shout out to Max. Shout out to the starting staff, guys, because I do see donations. Before we get there, let's talk about Game 1, because just like Max was absolutely nuts in Game 2, you know who was also nuts, guys? My goodness gracious, it was David Pearson. David Pearson, who has been continued to be used as a starter. Now, I was under the impression, and I was wrong with this, both myself and Joe Serralo in our podcast for Bleav in Queens, we thought that would have made sense to have Trevor Williams start Game 1 and David Pearson comes in a couple innings as a long reliever. The Mets plan to use Peterson as a reliever down the stretch this year. Currently not right now. They're still stretching him out as a starter because after his brilliant start today, they sent him down the minors and they brought up Adonis Medina, which I was very happy about. I love Medina. We didn't see him pitch today, but it was nice to see him caught up and available. Let's see how long he stays with the club right now. But Pearson, he comes in as a start, especially after Williams had to come in for Ty yesterday because Ty only had one inning pitch. He couldn't even get out of second. We saw that again. We'll talk about that more in the podcast. However, David, what does he do? He absolutely shoves. He was absolutely locked and loaded the last time he faced the Braves back in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. And the only mistake he had was, you saw, let's not forget, I will never forget this call. It was a clear strike that they called a ball to Dansby Swanson. And David Pearson's final inning of that game, folks, he gets on, and then Matt Olson grinds out at bat, and Pearson throws a hanger right down the pipe, and that would be a 2-run bomb to end David Pearson's day. He was brilliant. He was striking out the Braves left and right there in his first start against them. but I had that confidence that David, even today, while he hasn't consistently been in the rotation, he's been worked in AAA, you had a solid feeling that he could take advantage of a Braves team that has been so swing and miss. And that held true again. What does David Pearson do in game 1? 5.1 scoreless, 3 hits, just 3, a couple walks, yes, 5 strikeouts, 81 pitches, 0 earned runs. The Mets pitch 12.1 scoreless innings today from the starters. Absolutely electric. I'm so proud of this rotation. Like I said, they have a sub 2.3 ERA so far over the past month since Mad Max returned to this rotation. That says something not just about Max and his dominance, but also to an extent the type of impact that Max has on the rest of the rotation. I mean, Bassett is always chiming in and listening to what Max has to say, as are the other starters in this rotation, regardless on if they are a vet or if they're a younger guy like Pearson in the rotation, guys. But the Mets, game 1 was wacky. The ump was all over the place. There was some bad pitching. The Mets had some bad bullpen down the stretch. They still got the job done in that 8-5 win. And I know it's 8-5, not 8-6. My apologies for the issue here that we have with the numbers there. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Help us get a 400 likes by the end of the live show and help us get to 18K subs for the next short-term goal here on the channel, guys. But wow, we talk about game 1 for a second. And again, the story of the day. When the Mets score early in the first couple innings, they score often, and they're more than likely going to win a ball game. Pete Alonso with an RBI single without a problem. Daniel Vogelbach, they go back-to-back. I love those two back-to-back. They're so much fun to watch. You got the two beefiest guys on the roster back-to-back. One's a righty, one's a lefty. This is what us Mets fans cried for a lot earlier in the year when the Mets lacked power, especially from the left side of the plate. We want to see more of it. Finally, the Mets have that now, and Daniel Vogelbach, as he would go back-to-back with RBI singles with himself and Alonso. Mets tack on a couple runs early in this one, folks, and that is also early on when David Pearson gets himself out of his jam, dealing with an issue, gets a huge double play. That'll do it for the inning. We get to the third inning, folks. Jeff McNeil, who only started game 1, he did not play in game 2 today. When Mad Max in the bump, McNeil had a big game, was one of the biggest highlights here in game 1. He went 2 for 5, a total, including an RBI, which was an RBI base knock to increase the Mets' lead. 3-0 that we would see there in the third, guys. We would advance a little bit forward, however, in this game 1. Francisco Lindor with 2 RBI double, which was just shy. It was a hair, guys. It was hair away of a dead center bomb. They reviewed it. It looked like a bomb at first. They reviewed it, ended up being just a double with 2 RBIs. No less, the Mets have multiple runs. They're just pouring it on early on the Braves, which is absolutely huge. This is what you need to do against a Braves team that, again, you take care of Jake Odorizzi, the guy that they just traded for without a problem. Lindor, by the way, guys, he was my key player to watch entering this matchup against Odorizzi because he had an over 1,000 OPS in his career against Jake Odorizzi. So I was not surprised by Lindor raking against the guy. He went 3 for 4 in this game 1, including 2 runs scored and the 3 RBIs total. But in the 6th, we see there that big bomb there, just shy of a bomb rather by Lindor. And the 7th, Ronald Acuna Jr. would finally start to get some offense against this Mets team some more. When an RBI single was off the Seth Lugo, guys. The glaring hole that we saw today, it was Seth Lugo and Yon Lopez. As frustrating as Lopez was, I will get into it in a second. Lopez is a guy that's not expected to be in this Mets bullpen. That doesn't concern me nearly as much as Seth Lugo, a guy that, again, has been so Jekyll and Hyde for the Mets. The man goes 1.1 innings, but he gives up 2 earned runs. He has a walk as well, 2 strikeouts. He was able to get out of it, but still it was frustrating. We want to see better from Lugo, yet consistency has been the opposite of him for the majority of the year. He looked awesome in the Subway Series and this next outing after that. But again, now he's humbled a bit, and we're back down to reality with the 2022 Seth Lugo, guys, as Acuna would get that RBI single. Matt Olson with an RBI single as well there in the 7th. However, the Mets in the bottom of the 7th, James Mccann coming up clutch, baby. We need someone to step up. Finally, Mccann gets his first base knock coming off of his rehab stint, being away on the IL with the oblique. Gets a huge RBI base knock to increase the Mets' lead there at that point. And right from there, they were up 3. It was, I'm looking at the numbers right now. It was 3 and then 3-2. And then it was, at that point, it was 3-2. It was 3-3. And then you got the 3 runs there in the 7th, which was absolutely massive. It started with Mccann that we saw there in with the RBI single. Marte with an Oppo Bloop RBI single. And then Francisco Lindor there with a huge RBI sac fly. Mets would tack on more, which was great. Then we advance a little bit forward, guys, in the game. We get to the 9th. This is where you have Yon Lopez was only able to get 1 out. He ends up giving up 3 earned runs, 4 hits. As much as it frustrated me that Edwin Diaz had to come into this game, and of course Ottavino got the job done in between Lugo and Lopez, as he always does. Ottavino has been, again, the most reliable reliever in this bullpen, not named Edwin Diaz. Won 1.1 scoreless, 2 strikeouts. He gave up 3 hits, but still not an issue. But we get a Yoan Lopez. He only gets 1 out there for the Mets. They have to bring in Sugar. He would end up giving up a run. It was an unearned run because it went to Yoan Lopez, of course, because it just, again, the batter hit off of Diaz at the end of the day. No less, Diaz only threw 7 pitches, got the job done, and the Mets secured the Game 1 victory. And as a whole, they find themselves now, again, 30 games above 500. If I'm not mistaken, they have 69 wins on the year. So, very nice. I think we got to get some nices in the chat. If you know. But this was just huge for the Mets, guys. That's why I've been ranting about it, because the Mets, all year long, the focus has been the Braves. You can never get too comfortable with this Mets team, is what a lot of Mets fans have felt like, right? The Braves are going to be on the heels time and time again. And don't get me wrong, if the Mets lose tomorrow because they don't have any run support or anything of that nature, just like that, we go from 5.5 up to now back to 4.5, right? So it's one of those things where this is going to kind of be a seesaw, but especially in the scenario where, say, the Mets do in fact win, knock on wood, tomorrow, then they're 6.5 up. And then you're like, wow, okay, I know we have that other big matchup, another 4-game set, if I'm not mistaken, against the Braves here in the month. But then that's it for a little bit, right? So it's huge for the Mets to come out and a win and sweep for the second time this year the Atlanta Braves in a doubleheader. The Mets have swept 4 doubleheaders this year. It's unprecedented. Look, the Mets did really well in doubleheaders last year, too. They had one of the better records in baseball. The Mets over the past calendar year plus have done really well in doubleheaders. But it's huge to see them step up. It's huge for the offense. And more than anything, even with these issues with the bullpen, it's awesome that it's still not being a demise to this Mets team. If this was a Mets team last year or the year prior, looking at this Mets team and saying, oh my goodness gracious, even with runs, they simply cannot get the job done because their bullpen's too inconsistent, because their rotation's too inconsistent, they don't have enough depth or something. It's a completely different script with this team. Even when they're not perfect, even when they have clear flaws in their lineup, they're still able to bank on each other, and I really Bleav that the depth in Naquin, in Ruff, in Bogey, and everyone involved right now is paying massive dividends for this club and really trying to stay consistent and always grind out at bats the absolute best that they can. Look, the fact that the Mets made a game of it yesterday after being down 8-0, they made it a 2-run ball game, or I should say 3-run. Then you saw the 9th run later in the game yesterday, and then McNeil hit that bomb with 2 outs on the 9th. It was still massive for the Mets to show that, yes, no win for you Braves is going to be easy. We're going to grind out at bats still. Yes, we gave up an 8-piece within 2 innings, but that isn't going to stop our offense from really trying to jump and make something here. So even though they fell short yesterday, I was beyond ecstatic with what I saw with the Mets and their valiant effort to crawl back and make a game of it. Nothing's going to be easy against this club. That's going to hold true. And you don't just look at the offense. You don't just look at the stellar pitching. You look at the stellar defense, too. What have we seen with the Wizards in the infield? And Gourmet and Lindor, even McNeil at times. Everyone involved has done a phenomenal job. We've seen some great plays in the corner. We've seen some great plays, highlight reel plays by the Gold Glove, that's soon to be, and Brandon Nimmo. He's had an amazing year in center. Everyone involved is just doing the job. The bullpen is a thing that we're going to keep a close eye on. Again, it'll be interesting to see how it does tomorrow, depending on how deep Jake goes. Can Jake go 6 innings tomorrow, around 75, 80 pitches? If so, then I like the Mets' chances. I certainly do. But again, who's going to be available tomorrow? That's something that's going to weigh. But guys, let's get into Wardy's top 5. Then I'll get into more of your donations or comments and concerns. I greatly appreciate everyone being in here, guys. Thank you all so much. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on, guys, if you are in fact enjoying the show. Like I said, we're trying to get a 400 likes by the end of the live show, and then of course 18K subs for the next short goal on the channel. I'm going to be live here for another half hour, but after I go through Roy's top 5, I will cut things off for people on replay after it's up for a couple hours. So if you don't want to watch the full extended version of the show, not a problem. I will cut things off for you guys. But one more thing, trust me, JV, I will get to the dono. Thank you so much. I'm just waiting to get my thoughts on Wardy's top 5. Because again, guys, a lot of guys really stepped up to the plate today. But let me go through the 2 laps today. Let's start with game 1. Let's see. Brandon Nimmo 1 for 3 with a run scored and 2 walks. Starling Marte 1 for 3 with 2 runs scored and an RBI. Francisco Lindor dominating Jake Odorizzi. Per usual, 3 for 4, 2 runs scored and the big 3 RBIs. Pete Alonso 1 for 4 with an RBI. Daniel Vogelbach 1 for 2 with an RBI and a walk. Darren Ruff 1 for 2 coming in for Vogie as well. Big to see that. McNeil 2 for 5 with an RBI. Naquin 0 for 2 in game 1. Canna 0 for 2 but did have a run scored. Luis Gourmet 2 for 5 with a run scored. James McCann 1 for 3 with a run scored. And then when we get into game 2 offensively for the Mets, before we take a look at the top 5 here, bear with me, guys. Game 2 is going to have the following. Brandon Nimmo did go 0 for 4. Marte 0 for 3, but did have a run scored. Marte, really, even though he didn't have much hits, I appreciate the fact that he had strong defense. He was getting on base quite a bit, getting those walks, getting that stolen bag there in game 2 was nice. Lindor 1 for 3 with a run scored. Lindor just continues to step up against the most prominent opponents that the Mets have had this year, whether it's Subway Series or in the division. This is why you paid him the big bucks. He might not be the best player in the league. Maybe he is still a little overpaid. Everyone's going to say that. There's no way that he's going to amount to that contract, guys. Let's be real here. So if he can play to the best of his abilities as a guy that, again, gives you upwards of 30 bombs, upwards of 100 plus RBIs on the year with elite Gold Glove caliber defense, we're going to take that to the bank, doing well from both sides of the plate, which he has been far better at as of late versus what we've seen in the past. I mean, Alonso 3 for 4. Big day for him in game 2, especially with the runs scored and the RBI. Darren Ruff 1 for 4 with an RBI. We see Eduardo Escobar 1 for 4 with a double on the runs scored. Mark Canha 0 for 3, but did get that RBI because of the fielder's choice. Tyler Naquin with that massive, again, huge pinch hit opposite field RBI. We get a stolen bag and a run scored. Luis Gourmet 0 for 4, and Tomas Nido 1 for 3 with a double and an RBI. Both Nido and Mccann providing RBIs today. Oh my goodness gracious. Is this heaven? I don't know. Mets gain actually production from the catching position. You know you gotta be feeling good if that's gonna happen for this team in Queens. But guys, talking about Warriors top 5, it has to be the rotation. Peterson and Scherzer, they have been locked in electric, but this entire rotation. I wish I could say this entire rotation. If you're not named Taijuan Walker, you've been an absolute stud for a while now. Look, Ty, don't get me wrong, he hasn't had the best stuff post All-Star break, but yesterday was something else. Like, he just got absolutely shelled. His pitches were flat. He was low on velo. They were concerned to see if he was injured. He apparently wasn't, so it's hard to evaluate Ty. I just hope that that's a one-off and he can do better. But man, oh man, that was a brutal outing. But putting Ty's outing aside from yesterday, the Mets rotation has been among the best in baseball, quite literally for a month and a half to 2 months now. It's been that consistent for them, guys. My number 2 star, again, Potato. You can pick Lindor or Alonso. I'm going with Lindor here. Had the double, had the 3 RBIs and the 3 runs scored. I'm just so happy that Lindor was able to step up to the plate against these Braves and do what he has done in the past against the Braves and against bigger opponents that matter most for the Mets, especially down the stretch now. When you're batting 500 on the day, you're, of course, going to be my top 5. Pete Alonso, same thing. 4 for 8 as well, with 2 RBIs on the run scored. Alonso had a really strong day. You'll love to see that. Both Alonso and Lindor have 3 for 4 games. They were just opposite games from each other. Lindor had the 3 for 4 in game 1. Alonso had the 3 for 4 in game 2. My number 4 star might be a little surprise to some guys. I feel you could argue someone else, but for me, I went with Marte. I know he won 1 for 6, but he did have the RBI, the 3 runs scored. Those runs scored were definitely pivotal. His stolen bag, those things are important to me. Your ability to get on base and, of course, make things happen. So Marte, just with elite athleticism as always, he gets my top 5. At my number 5 star, I had Vogelbach in there originally, and you can rightfully argue Vogie. But I think the importance and really how clutch it is to come off the bench and to add an insurance run opposite field, no less, and steal a bag in the same sequence to eventually score another run in that same inning for the Mets. That's huge. Tyler Naquin went 0 for 2 in game 1, but that massive RBI and run scored and the stolen bag leading to the runs scored in game 2. That's why he's my number 5 star. He just looked phenomenal. I'm so happy that Naquin was able to come out and clutch up for the Mets. That's not an easy thing to do whatsoever off the bench. So trust me when I say that I appreciate everything that he's provided for this team thus far with the 2 bombs that we saw earlier in the series. And now again, opposite field hitting, stolen bags, something that he's not even known for doing a lot this year. Absolutely nuts. But guys, when we look at Warriors top 5 overall, I want to know, everyone in the live show, who was your biggest player today? Who is your number 1 star? Whether it was a pitcher or a batter, let me hear it in the comments right now in the live chat, guys. I greatly appreciate it. To everyone watching on replay, this is where I'm going to cut things off. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your number 1 star overall from this phenomenal 2-game doubleheader sweep against their rival in the Atlanta Braves. Mets look for their 4th of 5-win series against the Braves tomorrow, 4 o'clock game, I Bleav, with Jacob deGrom versus Spencer Strider. That's must-see TV. Stay tuned for that. But make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments below for people on replay. People in the live chat, let's get those comments now and donations. People in replay, this is where we're going to cut things off.